This is a financial check-in and my commitment to practice transparency. So I am still in Island Park. The Yellowstone is closed indefinitely. Today is Wednesday. That was announced to us on Monday. So I show up for Monday at work. I think my shift started like 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon. And then one of the girls was like, "Hey, the park is closed." And I was like, "Oh yeah, haha, right, right, you know." And then so she's like, and I wasn't sure. I thought she was joking, but she's like, "No, really." And then it was showing me the text and the notifications. I guess, due to the flooding and stuff, some of you may have seen it, but I understand. And I was like, just because what's going on in my world isn't relevant to everybody, and we all pay attention, I guess, to different things within the news, especially now because we can be so selective about it, right? Like we have our favorite news channels. It's not like once upon a time how we were just all stuck on the same news channel, whatever was, I guess, broadcasting on the TV. Now we have all these different internet sources. So I don't pretend to be that my information is the most relevant. But either way though, so I was like, FML. I was like, fuck my life. And so it's June 2022, and it feels like it's kind of like a repeat of COVID minus the freak factor. Like I remember when COVID first happened, I was kind of terrified. Like I was up in the mountains. I didn't have news, didn't have internet, no weather conditions were crazy. Like, it was a matter of driving into town like 1 hour one way with heavy snow and stuff like that. Yes, even in whatever month that happened, COVID, March. Um so now I'm a little bit, I guess, more in tune where I'm at. It's not a how could you say, I come across more people basically. So when you come across more people, there's more chances of you hearing as to what's going on, like your news sources and stuff like that. So again, this is an update. And I was like, gosh, I mean, I feel for the people. My first thought was like, well, I guess I have to leave this place. It was a concurrent thought. And then also that my hope for the people that are working within the park that are most directly affected, I was like, well, I hope they have funds. Like I hope they have savings. Some of them, the employees that are within, like, the nature of our business is that like our work and living are oftentimes together, oftentimes tied together. So meaning if you are no longer working at that place, you usually have, it can be anywhere. The standard for most contracts is that you usually have anywhere, say like from 24 to maybe 72 hours to vacate the property upon termination of employment, whether it be voluntary or a forced quit, meaning that you got fired. So where I'm at right now is that I don't know where I'm at. We're going to resume. The business is closed today. Today is a Wednesday. It is closed today, just because we're following the usual schedule. We didn't have any communication Monday night. We were especially busy because a lot of people, I mean, we're always busy, but um the especially busy for a Monday, I should say, because a lot of people are canceling or were on that day for guests that I was speaking with, canceling their travel plans and redirecting their travels. Or, and no, I shouldn't say canceling their travel plans, or redirecting their travel plans. So say for example, I was speaking with a couple and they had told me that they were just gonna skip the park, that they initially had planned on staying here through Thursday, which is tomorrow. And so, but they're like, well, now that we can't go into the park, they're like, well, we're just gonna like expedite our trip, and so they were gonna go to, from here, going to Zion and Bryce and do that route, or that circuit, I guess you could say, before going into Vegas, and then ultimately ending up in LA to catch their flight back home, which was, I think, in Connecticut, New Hampshire, or something like that, somewhere on the East Coast. Virginia, back to, before catching their flight back to Virginia. So, what that means for me is that, so yeah, of course I feel for everybody, because the thing is that if you have never been to Yellowstone, or even if you have, most people, they go in and out of Yellowstone perhaps through one gate, or they go in one gate out the other gate, but you don't realize like how large of an area this affects. It affects hundreds of miles, like several hundreds of miles, because there's 5 gates to the park. I happen to live off of the west side of the gate of the park. And so, like, which is West Yellowstone, 20 miles out, like out of the town of West Yellowstone, Montana, which is a gate to Yellowstone on the west gate. And so I know that sounds really confusing. I guess the town that was most affected was Gardner, Montana, which is the north side of the gate. And I have been through Gardner, Montana. And so even getting from here to Island Park, from Gardner to Montana, I don't know how many miles it is, but I have driven earlier this year. Was it at the end of February? I think it was. I was coming from Wyoming to go visit my family in California. I did go through Gardner, Montana, through Bozeman and all that area. And they also get a lot of park traffic. So you're thinking Bozeman's like 100 miles away from here or something like that, or I don't even know how much it is. Maybe I'm getting it confused with Big Sky, but I've been to Big Sky and Bozeman. But the point to that is that these are all towns that a lot of us have heard of that are going to be impacted by this. As to the extent, we don't know yet. I mean, that's why I kind of feel like that it's like COVID all over again, because I'm like, we didn't know how COVID was going to affect us, and then like, how long that the closure is going to be and stuff like that. And then hold on. Like my mug, I got it for $1. True story. I got it not because I like this little, I don't like stupid little quotes. And then I think they're like cheesy, girly cheesy. And then but I liked it because of the size. I was like, oh my god, this is perfect size. It's almost as big as my face. And man, so some of you were with me like on Facebook when I was doing my debt payoff, and I can tell you, I was like doing the debt payoff was a lot more like, oh, I felt just kind of like this fire. I don't even know if anger is a strong word. I'm not an angry person, but I felt like a fire to when I did my little debt chain. I'm gonna have to show you the one I have going on right now. And then yeah, I'm all bundled up here. Look, I have I'm ultimately gonna go. I have my little hoodie on. I'm gonna go run. Then I have my scarf on. Yes, I do have other clothes. I know I'm always wearing the same outer layer. It's an outer layer. I'm wearing the same uniform like Ariana Grande. And then she's always wearing one of my nieces. They're like, she has I like her uniform. And I was like, I guess it is like a uniform, right? The little outfits that she wears. Because they're kind of like basically the same thing, just in different colors. But anyway, that's kind of how I feel. So I'm wearing my layers, but my mom gave me this sweatshirt and it has a hole in it now because it's like wool or whatever. So I got caught on something, and then I look like super ultra homeless. And then but I want to have enough money in my bank account to not care how homeless I look. And then it's kind of liberating. And anyways, I'm back to this chain. I know I'm all over the place, but I am going to make sense of it all. Okay. So I really felt, again, my first thought for the people within the park, and I am more compassionate than what I may seem. And is that I hope they have savings, because there are a lot of people of different ages, students, retirees, J1s. The J1s are the students. They're usually students. I think you have to be a student. I'm not sure, but where they come from other countries, they want to come to the U.S. To just get the American experience, to perfect their language skills, to learn about business here, for different reasons. And work on condition, it's conditional that they're working, and I think after that they're allowed maybe 13 or 14 days of travel before they have to go back to their home country. And then I met a lot of cool people through that program. They're usually younger people, maybe no more than 26. I guess that's perhaps why I was guessing that they were college students. But anyhow, there's people that pay a lot of money. They have to pay a lot of money in their currency. Even if you translate that into US dollars, it's thousands of dollars worth for them to have that experience. And that's just for them to pay for the processing fees for to get their J1 status. That's not including their travel and the monies that they may have to come up with as far as to secure living arrangements, deposits, and things like that. They're not exempted from the American, from how we do things, just because they come on that status. Everything else, once they get there, they're here on their own pretty much. They have to pay a lot of money to do that. And then I feel for those people that were looking forward to this summer, as a means of boosting their account to pay for tuition to get them through the summer. For retirees, you have a lot of retirees that come, they work at the park, they hook up their RVs. It's an affordable way for them to be able to live, say off their Social Security if they receive any pensions, and be able to supplement their income while they have fun. A lot of retirees think this is fun because they don't have to do it. And I feel for those people. As far as the news goes, I guess there were no reported deaths directly related to the flood. However, there was a reported that someone did, die pretty much, and on Monday, but it was due to a heart attack. due to a heart attack, not to the flood. So I don't know if the shock of the flood may have caused the person this heart attack. um but that's I guess so far the only reported death. And then so like as far as my savings account numbers here, man, the last 10,000, so paying off those nearly $100,000 worth of loans and debt that I had was now seemingly the easiest part of this all. Where I have been at is at the last 10, and even after that, getting to 40,000 in, say like in cash savings and equivalents. I say equivalents because I put them like in different accounts and stuff like that. So like even getting to 40,000 was happened fairly quickly. It's been this last 10,000 where I'm like, man, let me make it to 50. I am trying my hardest to make it to 50. And it's not because I've relaxed on my spending. I do go through phases where I'm like, I don't buy anything. And then I will buy things. But the things that I buy, like say for example, but it's because they usually deplete. It's like when you kind of go grocery shopping, like your refrigerator usually depletes on a cyclical basis. Maybe your refrigerator depletes every 10 days or something like that, because your refrigerator can only hold so much. So once you use up those items, then it's time to go shopping again, which happens to be kind of like on a cycle. And so like, the things that I bought were my beet powder, my turmeric, my neem. What else do I get? I drink like dandelion and I drink, that's the kind of stuff that I drink. My Chinese herbal teas, my red ginseng. So like those are my treats. Those are things that I buy for myself to, that make me my self-care items, I guess you could say. And then so I just bought all that kind of stuff. But that, even the stuff that I buy isn't even bad. It's not really sporadic. I don't know what the words, impulsive. They're not impulsive purchases. They're things to maintain my health and my well-being. They make me feel good. Obviously, I like to talk a lot. It gives me a lot of energy. Maybe you should try it sometime. But back to the numbers though. So last night I had, oh my gosh, the weather here was horrible. Snowing, sleeting, raining. I couldn't tell what the heck it was, but it was all day, gloomy as heck. Gray. Even during the winter when it's heavy snow, like I'll go out. But yesterday was just like, man, it looks like it was just a day to stay in. And it was full moon also, so maybe that might have had something to do with it. So I was doing my numbers, doing my mid-monthly check-in. So where I'm at is that, and that's where I've been for a long time. I was like, man, this last 10, get it to 50, right? Because once I'm to 50, then I'll be halfway to 100, and my 100,000 cash savings and equivalent is my goal. Is my goal. I mean, obviously that's not a goal. I should say it's a milestone. So right now, yes, I'm classifying it as a goal, but I feel that it will be a significant milestone for me, because there is no one that I know, maybe people that I've worked with that have been like especially wealthy, it was so fun working for them. But I mean, in my personal circle, aside from the money, the equity that they may have in their home, there is no one that I know that has or that I'm aware of, at least. There may be somebody that I know, but I'm just not aware of, that has that amount, say, in investments. Normally the situation has been, or from as far as I am aware of, most people may have like say their net worth may be more than that, but it's because the investment is tied into their home. Their net worth is tied into their home. So obviously when it comes to that, I know they say, oh, like, buying a home is like a forced savings plan and stuff like that, which may be true for those that don't have the discipline, which I think is the majority of people. That's why your taxes are automatically taken out of your check. And that's a whole nother story. But the thing is that is it really an asset? I mean, I'm not trying to be ignorant, and I know, like, I'm probably going to get responses on this, but I'm like, from a financial perspective, there's different schools of thought. And so one of the schools of thought is that it's not an asset, it's your home. You should treat it like your home, and your home should be your home and non-negotiable. And no, your home isn't for sale unless one day you just decide that you don't like it anymore. And so once I finally do decide on where it is that I want to live, and I purchase my own home, I'm not going to include it as part of my net worth, because the thing is that it's not really worth anything. Just like how they say, like with your stocks and purchases and stuff, money is made on the buy, right? It's like, it's not really, you don't make money off of it until it's actually sold. So anything that's lost or gained in between is just pretty much imaginary money and on paper. And so, but anyways, so with that, back to this, the last 10 have been especially difficult. I did a posting, I think it was in September, where I exceeded the 40,000. I think I hit 41,000 or something, and I didn't even know that I had. So pretty much since September 2021 up until now, June 2022, I have only managed to save maybe like about 6,000, 6 or 7,000. So that's September. So August, November, December, January, February, March, April, May, June. That's 9 months. And so I guess that's still like an average of what, like five to 800 a month. It was a rough couple of 6 months earlier this year. But so where I'm at now, I have my little calendar here. This is what it looks like at a quick glance. So I do my little totals. I put them on my spreadsheet and stuff like that. Actually, I'm going to go back to, I have been heavily reliant on the app, on the EveryDollar app. Last year I had the membership. This the premium, this is the premium version. But this year, anyways, I just do everything manually, and I still enter the transactions. It wasn't communicating with the card that I have. So what I'm going to do now, though, is that because I have, one of the commitments that I made to myself was to rein in my expenses. You know, I always say my laundry, I always say my laundry, my laundromat, my car wash, and my bakery, like if it's already real. So, one of the things that I did want to work on was to rein in, to see if there's any way that I could rein in my expenses any further, to take a challenge. The challenge is to see if I could cut by 10% in some way, somehow. That could be by reviewing my insurance premiums, car insurance premiums, phones. What can I do to, because I can tell you what my expenses are, like to the dot, like, you know, to the point, say for the past like 2 years or whatever. And so it's not so much about, it's also to know, me keeping track of my expenses is so that I keep myself under control, so that I don't let my spending get away. And then also that way I can more easily determine as to how much I will need on a month by month basis in retirement. So then I know how to plan. So I know how to plan, so I know how much money I need later, right? So then, you know, I can factor in like, what is that thing called? Inflation, right? How could I forget that word right now? So where I'm at right now, I did just get a check yesterday here from a job that, is money due to me from a job that I did, you know, the final check from Utah. So it's not very much, but still. So, but I'm not going to include this. Normally, like say if I have any, uncashed checks in possession, I normally don't include that as part of my cash and equivalents, for the reason being is that it might not go through. Like I always, like, it happens, right? So like until it's actually deposited and the amount is credited to my account, I don't include that as part of my total savings amount. So this check happens to be, it was a small one. It was just for like a couple days at the end. It's $543, so $543.25. So where that leaves me at, so my total cash savings and equivalents or whatever is as of yesterday, and yesterday was June 14th, 2022, I was at $46,838.54, not including this check and some other money that's due to me also. So where that leaves me at, so $46,838.54 was total like cash savings, equivalents, investments. And my immediate target is 50,000. I've been trying to reach it so hard. I can't believe how long it's taken me to amass 10,000 when the first 40 were just, I don't know. I'm almost there, but not quite. Halfway to 100, but not quite. So that leaves a difference of $3,161.46. So basically I need to save an additional $3,161.46 to make it to 50,000. So this little paper chain here, this paper chain represents $3,161.46. So I'm going to put it on my wall right behind me. Right behind me. And then for every $100, each chain represents $100. So for each $100 that I save, I'm going to tear off a chain, kind of like how I did with my debt chain. I'm going to tear off a chain. And so this is going to be my motivation. I was like, once all the paper, how do you say, the little deals are, segments are torn off from here, then that means that I'll be one step closer to 50. And according to Charles Munger, I guess he's like compadres, he's bros with Warren Buffett. They're like of that same generation, of the same era. And according to Charles Munger, and I like him, like I've been watching his videos and stuff like that, and I was like, now I think what they're like 80 something, 82, 92, crazy. And so just still have so much like a wealth of information to offer. So, but according to him, he says that the first 100,000 is the most difficult, that for every person looking to save and invest, that the 100,000 milestone is probably of the greatest importance, because if you can get it to 100,000, then after that you have the benefits, the effects of compound interest to boost you along. And so then that your money, it's like a psychological thing. He says that it's like a psychological barrier that you break through. And then so if you're able to reach the 100,000 mark, then everything else, like your success, like your financial success, at least tends to expedite and multiply. So I'm like, but even before learning that, I just felt like, hey, 100,000 would be a good amount, because I was thinking at the time, just making general numbers. I haven't discussed this with anybody, but just, off the top of my head, I was thinking, I'm like, okay, at $100,000, maybe at an average of like an 8% return, that's $8,000 a month. And so if something were to happen, obviously I hope that God gives me a lot more years of life and working life. I like working. I'm not going to say that I shouldn't say that I was like that I always necessarily like my jobs. That's not true. And I was like, but I love working. I like how it feels. And even if I had a gajillion zillion dollars, I would still work. I would just be doing something different. I wouldn't leave my job right away, but I would be doing something different. Then I would go about buying my businesses and stuff like that. But as far as for now, I'm almost at 50, but not quite. It's been like the longest road is the last $10,000. I mean, from 40 to 50 has been challenging, because there have been like a lot of, I don't want to say setbacks, but there have been a lot of like deviations off path. And during my time in Utah, I'm still trying to figure what that was about. So that impacted me greatly. So then now I'm like, okay, I don't know, with the flooding and stuff here at the park. We are en route to the park, so I don't know how much business the business actually has if it's not for the park, is what I'm saying. And then so like tomorrow I go back to work tomorrow, so hopefully something will be communicated to us tomorrow as to where are we going now, like, are we going to be the same, are we still going to be open the same hours, are we going to like have to close? And if we do close, like obviously even if there's only so much volume, there's only so much business and only so much opportunity to make money. And so those are things that are beyond my control. And so for people that are in food service, or I guess touristic, seasonal, tourist dependent, you understand as to how important tourism is. And I'm like, in Las Vegas it's the same thing too, my home base or whatever. But I was like, it is so important to be nice to visitors, to be kind to tourists, so then that way you want to make them come back. Or I obviously, the actual likeliness of them coming back is unlikely perhaps, but at least maybe they'll tell somebody, they keep it going for that area. And so that's where I'm at. So I have $3,161.46 to go. It's freaking cold as heck in here. So I'm layered up. Even turning on the heater, man. I was like, you wonder, yes, I do turn my heater on. I'm not that fucking cheap. And then but the thing is that with the system, it's a really small space. So it's like that dry heat. And I just don't like the way that it feels. So I'd rather be a little bit on the cool side and bundle up. But I'm like, this thing needs to go. So tell me where you're at. If any questions, what you think about this mess. Have you recuperated from COVID? And I don't like to dwell on those things. You know, it was a learning experience, and each of the times I thought, I was like, my first thought was like, thank God I have savings, thank God I have savings. But obviously those savings, I'm like, with the rate of inflation and the cost of things rising, and I'm like, is getting me, its value is quite rapidly decreasing. It's becoming less and less and less, you know. And then so but that's where I'm at. So $3,161.46 to go.